Light within my heart, light within my thoughts, light within my words, may one and all and everything, blessed and loved ever be. Welcome. I am Sister Who. Today I wanted to offer a few thoughts and reflections on the subject of comedy, or of humor. I recall seeing a bumper sticker or a plaque once that said, "He who can laugh at himself shall never cease to be amused." The plaque, of course, didn't go on to consider whether it was a good thing or a bad thing for someone to be perpetually amused. There's also been the saying that laughter is good medicine, and my understanding is that there was a study that was done, a scientific study that confirmed that negative emotions have a depressive effect on the immune system, that your immune system actually functions better when you're happy than when you're sad. All that being said, censoring sadness or denying the expression thereof or saying that it's bad to be experiencing negative emotions is also unhealthy. When misfortune happens, it's appropriate and I would say healthy to feel whatever emotions you're feeling, to feel the negative emotions. The challenge and the invitation, I guess, is to create a way of processing the loss, a way of processing the sadness, of coming to terms with the fact of the misfortune that allows you to move through it and beyond it. That's the whole reason that virtually every culture in human history has some sort of process for dealing with the death of a loved one. A lot of what goes on in funerals and memorial services and internment of remains in cemeteries has to do with society's attempts to manage and streamline and somehow empower that transition through these negative emotions, so that after all of that, the people can come back to a positive place and go on with their lives. Because to simply gloss it all over and pretend it didn't happen and totally repress it all has an even more disastrous effect. So societies have come up with a myriad of different ways by which the society tries to help its individuals to process and deal with the experiences of loss and misfortune that life frequently includes. All that being granted, I guess, humor is actually a much more complex subject than most people give it credit for being. When I was in middle school, in about 7th or 8th grade, I think it was, we were in our social studies course, we were studying Canada, and me being always the innovative, creative, unusual person wanted to do something unusual again, and I came up with it, and the teachers thought it was a great idea, and so I did my best to study it and research it and dig it out and figure out what made it tick. At the time we were studying Canada, and I basically wrote a paper addressing differences in humor between Canada and the United States. Why do we laugh at the things we laugh at? Why do we find certain things funny and other things not so? On a different but related note, I sometimes refer to myself as a sacred clown. That term, though, comes more out of tribal societies, and when I was first becoming Sister Who, I was trying to address what link there might be between sacred clowns and circus clowns. Circus clowns are much more recognized within the current era, and it seemed to me that there might be some sort of connection, but if so, what was it? Because sacred clowns deal with mysteries and challenges and questions and riddles and metaphors and deep thought-provoking things, basically to keep people growing and to prevent societal stagnation, to give people alternative ways of experiencing life, sometimes giving them a way to laugh at themselves, but the goal is not to get people to laugh at themselves. The goal is to accomplish personal growth. And as I pondered this whole, the possible connections, what seemed logical to me was that when the sacred clown helps someone make a discovery, where they suddenly look in the mirror and realize what it is they've been overlooking, and it's like, oh, now it all makes sense. Sometimes through the clown's performance of some metaphor, sometimes through the metaphor that they themselves have embraced under the clown's guidance, people are suddenly brought face to face with the truth of themselves, and it makes them very nervous. And so there's kind of this nervous laugh, like, oh boy, you were sure put your finger right on the middle of that one. Feeling so in the spotlight, feeling so put on the spot, so to speak. There's emotional tension, and to reduce that tension, people laugh. Kind of a nervous, tense laughter where they're trying to just reduce the tension because they don't know what to do next. But they know everyone's looking at them, but they don't know what to do next. And so it seems to me that over time, perhaps, somebody began misinterpreting that clowns make people laugh. Well, it wasn't the clown that made them laugh. It was the uncomfortableness of truth, of sudden insight, of suddenly seeing exactly what is really going on, and finding in that discovery something so challenging that nervous laughter was the only expression or emotion within reach. As if someone were to suddenly walk in on someone while they were changing clothes, and the person was so exposed that either it would be a shriek of fear and fleeing from the situation, or it would be nervous laughter as they quickly tried to move to a different situation of grabbing a blanket or a towel or whatever. There's something about truth that makes us feel exposed, that makes us feel vulnerable. And it's not a bad feeling, but it's also the invitation or the opportunity for our greatest maturity to come out, because it does take a significant amount of maturity to deal with those kinds of situations, to be able to look at an uncomfortable truth and not laugh it off, quite literally, and not disregard it, not pretend it's not there, but to sit down, be present with it, and begin to have a dialogue and figure out how to grow through this. Rather than hiding behind nervous laughter, to instead say, okay, I'm listening. What is it that you want me to understand? On a societal level, the additional thing that comes into that, though, is what people consider funny, which of course varies from country to country and from region to region within a country, and varies according to economic class also. There are things that wealthy people would consider quite amusing that are completely different from what a poor person or a working class person might find amusing. And and of course the national or cultural implications also, that what is considered funny in China or Japan is not the same as what is considered funny in Italy or Africa or Europe or North America or South America. The added layer of all that, though, is when societal oppression gets woven into our almost subconscious understandings of what's funny. I mean, we grow up around people's ideas of what is funny, so much so that it's common to take on these beliefs about what is funny without even realizing what they are or what their implications are. In many cultures, there is a certain predisposition, if you will, to laughing at whatever is considered unintelligent, whatever is considered foolish. And the question becomes, though, are we laughing at someone's expense? Are we basically making someone feel less than they are for the sake of being amused? I'm reminded of a wonderful song recorded by Peter, Paul, and Mary and a lot of other singers in musical groups, which essentially is entitled, and the chorus begins, "Don't laugh at me." The first verse is, let's see, I'm the little boy with glasses, the one they call a geek, the little girl who never smiles because I have braces on my teeth, and I know what it's like to cry myself to sleep. There's something about making someone the butt of a joke that isolates them rather than includes them. It doesn't embrace and hug them, it puts them apart and puts them in a spotlight, almost like putting a trained animal in a circus to be laughed at and stared at by the entire audience. A performer may choose to be on stage in the spotlight, and a stand-up comedian may choose to be in the spotlight and invite people's laughter. But that is entirely different than the one who is placed there by society because of some inescapable quality. You know, the little girl with braces, okay, every time she smiles, she's got silver all over her teeth, because they're trying to make the teeth grow straight and beautiful. But it's a long and painful process to wear braces. In the hands of a competent dentist, it does eventually work. But for the in-between time, there's a lot of visual things that child will have to live through. The whole thing of glasses, that there were some boys and girls when I was going through school whose eyesight was negatively affected by a variety of things, and they had very, very thick glasses. Well, of course, every time you look at them, it distorted the shape and color of their eyes in all sorts of ways. Why did some people consider that funny and others didn't? I'm not entirely sure. Sometimes I wonder if the comedy had more to do with people's own underdeveloped egos, that because they felt insecure about themselves, they needed to shift the attention to someone else, and so they would point to anything that was completely different and see if they could get everyone to laugh at it. Going back to the song, coming to the chorus, don't laugh at me, don't call me names, don't get your pleasure from my pain. In God's eyes, we're all the same. Someday we'll all have perfect wings. Don't laugh at me. If, according to a particular belief system, if when we leave this world, we all get to become angels with wings, as has been depicted by various artists for the last 500 years or so. The idea that we are all saints and angels in the making, and that we may look different. We may have quirks that seem awkward or incongruous in ways that are funny. Why is it funny to laugh at somebody who has big feet or oversized ears? Or why do we consider these things legitimate reasons to devalue and deride that person, put them down? And again and again, as I pondered these things, it seemed to me it all comes back to not understanding something, so that humor is often a camouflage by which we hide our own ignorance, by which we're trying to get everyone to look over there at that person, instead of noticing that we're the ones who don't feel secure about ourselves, feel awkward, feel ill at ease, don't want you to notice that maybe we don't think we're as pretty as we would like to be. Maybe we don't feel like we measure up to someone's standards. And so then to shift the focus somewhere else, to try to get people laughing. And if everybody laughs, that means they're having a good time. Well, not necessarily. Everyone may be laughing because of some distraction that is going on that for cultural or personal reasons seems amusing. But laughter doesn't necessarily convey honesty. It doesn't necessarily convey, laughter is definitely not the same as joy. And it's not necessarily the same as happiness. Laughter can mean as many different things as people can imagine it to mean. Everything from sinister intentions to disregard of another's problems to an amusing juxtaposition, something that's out of balance, something that is clumsy. Why is clumsy amusing anyway? Why is there a whole genre where it was considered funny, what they called slapstick? Essentially different actors or actresses on stage who would interact in a way where the audience was encouraged to laugh at their misfortunes, to laugh at them getting punched in the face or knocked out or slipping on a banana peel and falling, instead of responding when the person slips on the banana peel. Oh my God, is he okay? Did he just have a concussion? Do we need to call the ambulance? Why are we not concerned for the person's welfare? Going back to the song again, in another verse it talks about being the kid on every playground who's always chosen last, single teenage mother, as the song says, trying to overcome her past. I don't know that we have done a very good job of dealing with people with those sorts of challenges. Mistakes that happen, consequences there are, yes, but especially with the teenage mother, there's a child that's going to come out of that incident. And I would hate for that child to grow up feeling that it was the mistake. It was the one that shouldn't have happened. It was the birth that wasn't celebrated but was an embarrassment, that we somehow need to hide the fact that mother wasn't married at the time that she gave birth to this child. It would be so much more appropriate if, and so much more empowering if society would respond saying, this child is an unexpected gift. Every child is a gift from the divine for the betterment of humanity, but it will only be so in actuality if we nurture and love this child. Every child is a gift to humanity from the divine, whether it has thick glasses or oversized ears, or at some point as we're growing up, kind of like puppies and kittens and everything else, we're out of proportion, and when we finally get to be adults, things come more into proportion. I had size 10.5 feet when I was in 8th grade. My hands were huge when I was in 8th grade also. Like a Doberman puppy, I suppose I had to grow into my feet and my hands because I was out of proportion for a while. And so I got picked on and teased a lot. I got bullied a lot. And it was always puzzling to me that the adults wouldn't do anything. And I suppose the reason I was led to do this paper in middle school on the differences in comedy between Canada and the United States is because I found that the comedy in the United States seemed to thrive on picking on somebody, on devaluing somebody, as if devaluing that person, as if grandstanding their lack of intelligence or their clumsiness would somehow raise the rest of us up. And of course it never does that. All it does is create a distraction and keep us from facing ourselves honestly and from honestly cherishing what the valuable truths of that person were. That with braces or glasses or whatever, here was a person who had a unique experience and a unique perspective that could have empowered and enriched their community if anybody had been willing to listen and to value them and to let them know that they were and are valued. That there is a reason you're here. I may not know what it is, but the fact that you're here means there is an opportunity for something really good to happen. And you and I need to figure out together what that could be. I believe in including the pursuit of joy. But I'm absolutely clear that joy and happiness are not the same thing. Laughter could exist in either one or in neither. Laughter, as we've already said, could be sinister intentions, could be an expression of personal insecurity, could be genuine joy. I mean, sometimes there are wonderful moments when everything clicks, everything comes together, the harmony is beautiful, and the person is so happy that they bust out laughing, and it's just the joy bubbling up from the deepest place inside of them. And there are times when I look in the mirror and I laugh not because I'm putting myself down, but because there are moments when I realize just how absurd and paradoxical life can sometimes be, and to have those sorts of duplicitous situations existing side by side is so wonderfully absurd that it just warrants a laugh of response, a recognition that life has created a very funny juxtaposition that is not about putting anybody down, but is rather about, I suppose you might say, that the triumph of the underdog. Underdog being a metaphorical term for the person who is in a struggle but who is considered by the community not likely to win. And when the underdog does win, and in numerous cases it's happened in history, the joy that sweeps through the audience, not because they want to put this person down, but because they are so thrilled and so happy that their expectation of loss was disappointed. That there is genuine joy in expecting a negative outcome and not getting it. It's as if life itself has done this kind of wonderfully amusing reversal, and we are so filled with joy we have to grin and laugh and smile and cheer and whistle and everything we can. When the one whom all the experts predicted couldn't do it shows them up and does it. The horse race where the one who was given the worst possible review surprises everyone and wins the race. The opportunity that comes within the most unlikely circumstances. I was told of a particular playwright whose father literally fell into the theater by walking down the street in New York City and getting bumped and stumbling through a glass door, falling onto a stage where they were having an audition. And somehow out of that was given the chance to audition or look just like the part or something, I'm not sure. And that was what began his show business career, that he quite literally, fell onto the stage from the street and, at that point became an actor because of so many things coming together at exactly the right time and in exactly the right way. There is the laughter that comes from joy is one thing. The laughter that comes from wanting to put up a curtain and camouflage that I really don't feel as good about myself as I'd like to. Whoever the me is in that case, whenever one doesn't feel adequate, to instead of trying to find a distracting joke, to be brave enough to have an honest conversation. To say, you seem like a fascinating person, but I really don't feel like I have anything to offer you. And if that's the case, I need to get out of the way. If there is something I can offer that would be helpful to you, I'm happy to do that. But to move beyond making others the butt of our jokes, to understand that that there's a story behind every single one of these, and there's a real person behind every single one of these, and there's a real heart behind every single one of these, and that when we step on somebody else's heart for the sake of creating a distraction of laughter, we hurt somebody. And to take responsibility and to be willing to be held accountable for that, so that we can be healers of the world individually and collectively instead of oppressors. So many people would absolutely deny that they are oppressing the world in any way whatsoever until they get face to face with the person who has been hurt, if that honest conversation ever comes out. It's recognizing that when we bring joy, not just superficial laughter, but when we bring joy to another person, by recognizing them as a unique individual, as a valuable person, that we can literally change the course of history. In any case, thank you for watching, and I pray that whatever adversity you may encounter this week, that you find within yourself and within those around you the beautiful people that you have been created to be, and the wonderful moments of joy and community that each of us is able to bring to the spectrum of human experience, each in our own little ways. Thank you for watching.